Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another edition of The Professional Fan. I am your host, The Professional Fan, Mike Antonace. This is your first time here. Please like, subscribe, share this content. We've got a lot of new subscribers recently and want to thank you guys all so much for joining and commenting and chatting, all that good stuff. We appreciate all of that. And if you are on YouTube, also please ding that notification bell to be notified when we do go live. And tonight, well, applause for you. That's for you, the fans. And tonight, we're going to go, I'm off camera, as you can see, because this was impromptu. I'm crashing out a little bit, guys, because you see that. No moves, bro? No moves, Andrew? Where's Laser Eyes Andrew Barry? We got Googly Eyes Andrew Barry today. God damn, guys. Man, I hope that doesn't affect monetization, swearing that quickly into the video. But, folks, the exciting trade deadline for the NFL, one of the most exciting we've had in probably a number of years. I think Adam Schefter tweeted it tied the most for trades in NFL history leading up to a deadline. And the Cleveland Browns made one trade. They traded Joe Tryon-Shoyinka to, where the hell did they trade him? The Bears. They traded him to the Chicago Bears for a seventh round pick for a sixth round pick. So that was it. That was the extent of the Browns trade deadline. Now here, if you want to play devil's advocate, they did trade Greg Newsome and a pick for Tyson Campbell earlier a couple weeks back. That might have been the big trade during the season, whatever. But every single report released by most Browns media members that are close to the Browns stated the Browns are going to be buyers. They're going to be buyers at the trade deadline. Buyers was the exact terminology used. Buyers. They didn't buy anything but a sixth round pick from the Chicago Bears. There were reports that came out later in the day where it's like, no, the Browns aren't even looking at receivers. Not looking at receivers. It's the weakest goddamn room in the team. They didn't call the Raiders about Jackson Powers Johnson or young offensive linemen in disgruntled situations. There was a lot of movement today. And the Cleveland Browns did nothing. Now, I get it, right? We've said it multiple times on the show. The goal is not to win games this season. I get that. They want to ethically tank, if you will, to get a number one quarterback option this upcoming draft, of which there are probably 4, maybe 5 guys that can go in the first round, which is a lot. So you have a top 5 pick, the chances of you getting at least one of those guys relatively high. I don't think every guy picking in the top 5 is going to take a quarterback. Obviously, the Jets are going to be up there. Saints, us. The Ravens might have a top 5 pick, which is wild. But yeah. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. They're obviously not trying to win. Since they're not trying to win, I expect them to tank and gather picks. That's usually the kind of flux most NFL teams are in, right? Are you trying to make the team better? Or are you trying to load up picks for the future and go from there? I don't know what the Browns are trying to do. Not only did they not try and make the team better by trading for young players, maybe under contract, they didn't even trade any of their own players to get picks. I don't know if they're going to pay David Njoku. I don't know if they're going to pay Wyatt Teller. I don't know if they're going to pay some of these veterans on expiring deals. Joel Bitonio was not getting traded. We already always said that from the beginning. He is retiring a Brown. He's probably done after this year. But I don't know if these veterans are getting new contracts. And if you don't pay them, you're just letting them walk for nothing. And I don't understand that thought process unless they really think they're going to re-sign David and Wyatt. And maybe they will. But I just don't understand this approach. For example, you can see a team like the Jets and their approach. They are a team that is fully aware of where they're at as a team. They are completely aware of it. They are aware that they are a long ways away from being competitive. And honestly, I think that the Jets understood the assignment better than the Browns have. The Jets understand they're so far away that they traded away Sauce Gardner for a ridiculous trade package to the Colts. 2 first-round picks for a corner is nuts, especially one who's having a down year. But again, it's the Jets. Trading away Quinnen Williams for another first-round pick. And then they traded one other player. Can't think of it off the top of my head. Someone will post it in the comments, I am sure. But yeah, just insanity what they were doing. But they understand where they're at. They need a quarterback. They need pieces on the offense. They need better tackle. Well, their right tackle is very good. They need better play along the O-line besides right tackle. They have a really good center. Other than that, the Jets need to rebuild a guard here or there. They need another receiver at the number 2 spot. And their defense, took apart a top 5, what could be a top 5 unit, to try and invest in the offense, get the quarterback that they want. And now the Jets have, I believe, if the Cowboys pick is for next year, they have 3 first-round picks next year. The Jets then have 2 first-round picks the next year. The Jets understand what they're doing to try and make their team better. Now, a team like the Jaguars, while I think flawed, they traded for Jacoby Myers, they traded for Greg Newsome, thinking that those pushes would allow their team to get more competitive in a year they think that they are playoff bound and can go far. The Browns are doing neither of these things. The Browns are not trading their expiring veterans or star players, and they are not acquiring new players. I kind of don't understand the sit on your hands approach that Andrew Berry's taking right now. The Browns are in a rebuild, especially offensively. We are very similar to the Jets in our current situation. Our defense is amazing, like the Jets was, but our offense sucks. Our offense is worse than the Jets' offense. Arguably, the Jets have at least put up a shit ton of points this year, once or twice. Browns can't do that. The Browns need to rebuild the O-line. The Browns need to rebuild the entire receiving room. Our best players are on offense, specifically our rookies, Quinshon Judkins and Harold Fannin Jr., and then I think David Njoku is still great, but for whatever reason, they've just etched him out of the playbook. And if that's the case, why a guy whose contract is expiring that you've basically crossed out of the playbook, either by design or by quarterback ineptitude, did you not trade him when he's arguably one of your top pieces to move as far as draft capital goes? I just don't get it. I just don't understand the sit on your hands approach. Very disappointed, honestly, today. I expected to see something to either get some draft capital or to maybe make the team better by getting a young receiver here or there, maybe a young offensive lineman like a Jackson Powers Johnson that's kind of at odds with the front office where he's currently at. But Hi, Chantel. But yeah, I'm just at a loss. Um, and Kristen says, now the question is why Barry didn't not meet with the press. Their excuse for that is that they decided in the offseason that they were going to scrap the midseason by interview. Now, I don't know how true that is. It's not like they reported that beforehand. Could be just smoke and mirrors. It's a great question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I'm not really a fan of this whole approach. I mean, the Cleveland Browns need a lot. And here we have 11 picks this upcoming draft, including 2 first-round picks. I think we need at least one more second, maybe another pick in the 3rd to 4th round range. Because here we need to get as many offensive linemen as we can. I fully want but this team has so many needs. You got to go like quarterback, receiver, guard. If Shador's the guy, tackle, receiver, guard. This team just has so many glaring needs on offense, and I think they really think they're closer than they are. Like, the offensive line's old now. That whole unit needs rebuilt. The receiving core is not good. You need 2 starting caliber receivers. I agree, Ian. They decided during the offseason that they were tanking. I agree completely. However, I don't know if you're just tuning in. Welcome in, by the way, if you're just tuning in. But I don't even think we're doing the tanking thing right, Ian. You look at the Jets. They tore it down to the foundation. Traded Sauce Gardner for 2 first-round picks. Traded Quinnen Williams for a first-round pick. They traded pieces in order to try and get the quarterback that they want, in order to, get Aaron Glenn's guys or whatever. Like, that is a team that understands where they're at. I don't know if the Browns really, truly understand where they're at. And that's worrying. That's the most worrying thing I think I've seen in here. I've been an Andrew Berry defender. I think for the most part, he's safe just because of this last draft was very good. Mason Graham, Schlesinger, Judkins, Fannin, Dylan Sampson, I think still has a ton of potential. But damn, you don't trade Jerome Ford. You don't trade David Njoku. You don't trade Wyatt Teller. 3 vets on expiring deals. Would you have gotten a lot for Jerome Ford? Probably not. But a 7th, something? Probably could have got a decent amount for David or Wyatt. You need the picks. You need young players. If you don't, Wyatt's your best offensive lineman right now. But, you have young guys in the building. David, again, you write him out of the playbook, either by design or quarterback ineptitude, and just nothing. We're not even doing tanking correctly, Ian. Sounds like a new regime may be in the works. They are moving like they will be gone. I don't know. I mean, they're moving like they're safe. And I'll get to that in a minute. Like the Kevin Stefanski handing off play calling, people think that's him on the hot seat. I would argue the opposite. If he was on the hot seat, he would need to be calling those plays to be trying to save his job. If he hands it off, maybe somebody might say, maybe he's pushing off blame. Maybe that could be. My thought process on that is he thinks he's safer than he is. I don't know. Trade away Flacco and Pickett and didn't develop any one of them. Flacco or Pickett? Yeah, I mean, Joe Flacco's, here, the offense on the Browns has been inept the whole year. Offensive line is horrible. Our receivers are worse. I think, Flacco still has it. He has still had it, but this receiving core is so bad. Going from, I don't know how many firearms enthusiasts we got in the chat, but going from our receiving core to having T. Higgins, Chase, Noah Fant. I mean, that's like going from, defending yourself with a 22 to defending yourself with 30-06. It's completely different. I don't understand not trading Shedeur. The Browns will never trade a rookie their first year. I'll tell you that much. That's probably the one thing that I can tell you. The Browns are never going to trade a rookie their first year, ever. This regime, the previous regime, the Browns don't trade rookies. And for the most part, that's kind of just an NFL thing. You don't trade rookies. You got to see what you have in them. You'd probably trade a guy that you draft 2 years minimum after the draft, maybe 3. You want to see what they have on the field, or if they're not tradable, if they're just bad, you move off of them, like Anthony Schwartz, Siaki Ika, a couple of those guys that we drafted in the past that just didn't have it. But yeah, the Browns aren't going to trade a rookie. The NFL teams at large don't want to trade a rookie that they haven't seen anything out of. That's just not how they roll. But yeah, that's the one thing I can kind of understand why they didn't do it and why they won't do it. I heard today on the Cowboys news report that Jerry Jones reached out to Cleveland for Myles Garrett for an offer 2 first-round picks. Cleveland said no due to salary cap. Yeah, I mean, salary cap, but also, here's the thing, right? I mentioned David Njoku. I mentioned Wyatt Teller. I mentioned Jerome Ford. They're expiring deals. Myles Garrett is the farthest thing from an expiring deal. Myles Garrett is on contract for 7 more years. 7 more years. Contractually, trading him would be a damn nightmare. But other than that, on the reverse of that, you also then have to replace Myles Garrett, who is virtually irreplaceable. I think, as a Cleveland fan, we've been spoiled. We've had him on the team for a long, long time. I don't think the Browns fan base at large understands what that would do to this defense. I don't know if we're a top 5 defense the day after that. I don't even know if we're top 15 the day after we trade Myles Garrett. Teams have to plan just to defend against Myles Garrett. The plays that they run are completely different because we have Myles Garrett on our team. I don't know if I'm in favor of trading Myles Garrett. I understand 3 to 4 first-round picks or multiple firsts and multiple seconds or whatever the hell the crazy, back up the Brinks truck, of picks would be is very alluring. But then you have to find a player that is as good as Myles Garrett, which you just cannot do. I'm always of the mind that you don't trade Hall of Fame talent. Always been that way. And Myles Garrett is probably one of your only 2 Hall of Famers on this team. Ian says it made no sense to have both Flacco and Pickett and not develop the QBs they drafted. Pickett injured, still got first team reps. If Shedeur can't understand that offense by now, should probably trade. Yeah, they're not going to trade a rookie. They're just not going to do it. I don't think it's not understanding the offense. I think it's more so, he was a 5th round pick. This is normal for a 5th round pick, no matter as talented as we think he is. This is just normal. Any NFL team would be doing the same thing. Now, one could argue, well, why'd Pickett get so many first team reps? He was going to be the starter. They wanted him to be the starter. He got hurt. They had to pivot off of him to Flacco. So, and at that point, Flacco was going to be a bridge guy, and then you move on to the rookie quarterbacks. But again, neither of these quarterbacks, I understand, Shedeur's polarizing, has a lot of fanfare. I'm a huge Shedeur fan. Think he's super talented. All that being said, 3rd round quarterback, 5th round quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, they aren't, everything they're going to do is going to be more earned, than just given. You know what I mean? But joining me now, real quick, is the host of the main show and my boy, Joseph Latman. Adding him right now. Oh. There we go.
What's going on, man? Today's how you doing on this cold Tuesday here in Ohio?
I love it. Feeling great.
But no, I appreciate you having me up here, brother. But man, I just I'm so tired of this Browns season already. I'm tired of this Browns regime. I'm tired of this franchise. I'm tired of all this stuff. They just constantly disappoint us. They let us down, and I don't think they really care. You know, I guess I'll start with this. When making no moves today, I'm not surprised they didn't make any moves because I don't think they really care. I don't think they want to make moves. I don't think they really care about winning the season or bettering the team. I think Haslam in particular has it right where he wants it. Um, as long as we just stay where we are, stay interesting. Once we put Shador in there, we'll use Shador to keep us interested and, make the fans seem like we care and blah, blah, blah. And it's interest, and maybe get a TV game out of it. So get some revenue for it, some more revenue, pay for his new stadium or to help with that. Just like Shador's generated over $300 million in revenue for him already. So,
Crazy.
I think I'm not surprised. I think they just don't really care. I think they punted this season for the season even started, like somebody mentioned earlier, which they pretty much said they were doing. I mean, and the whole thing was a circus from the jump. I mean, who the hell brings in 4 quarterbacks to a camp, 2 rookies and 2 veterans? I mean, it was a shit show to begin with, a circus. They look like they have no idea what they're doing. They have no direction. You have a bunch of geek squad guys running the team up in the front office. And this is what you get when you try to build a team through a calculator. You don't understand football. You don't understand the optics, and just understand locker room chemistry. The whole thing. All the players see it. Jerry Jeudy, what he said when they traded Flacco, he pretty much said, "What was the point of the whole circus in the offseason?" Then you remember those comments a month ago when they traded Flacco from Jeudy. So all these guys see it, and that's why Myles Garrett's getting frustrated and throwing his helmet on a 5-sack career day, because they're just tired of it. These guys, they came from programs in college. Jerry Jeudy came from Alabama, one of the best programs ever under Nick Saban. Myles Garrett came from a probably respectable program at A&M. These guys have been around that in college. We heard what Debo said the other night on the show, Coach Martin, who was in the college ranks, and you heard how he said how the structure works and everything, how important it is. And these guys come from that, and that's at any level, like especially, NFL, you have to have a good, solid culture and program. You're dealing with guys who are making millions of dollars. You got to make it appealing to them to come play for you, or they'll just go get money somewhere else that's more attractive. So
Right.
we're not doing that. We're not setting ourselves up for that. And, these guys that see that, they see all the flaws in the program every day. They see it every single day, and it drives them crazy. They just put up with it, obviously, because they're getting a check, but, I just, I don't understand what their direction is, honestly. I mean, I guess, you mentioned earlier that I know a lot of people have said it today about Stefanski handing out play call may mean he's safe, but I don't see how he's safe, because if he didn't hand out, had he done this, if this was the first time he handed out play call, then I would agree with that. But the fact that he did it last year too is very alarming to me. This is 2
I
years
agree with that.
ago. I don't see how he's safe if you did it twice. You can't be safe. This guy was brought here as some quarterback whisperer and some offensive guru and all this and that, but it's been furthest from that. And he handed off play calling not once but twice in back-to-back seasons. It's not like he did this back in 21 and then did it in 23, or it's not like he did the first time 4 years ago and decided to do it again now. No, he did this last year too. And ever since they fired that offensive staff they made it to the playoffs in 23, they've never recovered since. And they only fired all 3 of those guys because all 3 of those guys didn't go along with the philosophy in the organization from the top that's ran by calculators. So they don't know what they're doing. They have no direction. They have no identity. The only decency in that building, football wise, is Jim Schwartz, because Jim Schwartz, is the man, and he was been a head coach. He's a respected coach, been around a long time, and that's why his unit is constantly week in and week out the best for the last 2 years, and always on sharp and stuff. Yeah, they have letdown games here and there, but that's where you're supposed to be able to count on your offense to help you out.
Right.
But we don't do that. Special teams an absolute disaster, because clearly they don't know how to coach that. I don't see how they're developing any of these quarterbacks. Dylan Gabriel looks like, and I could sit here and bay on Dylan Gabriel all day and say he's short and this and that. The guy's not being developed. Like, he's clearly not being developed. He has not gotten better in any week. And he hasn't gotten better in any area any week. He's actually gotten worse. I mean, 2 weeks ago was terrible. Throwing that ball out of bounds like that on a safety, the awareness like that. I mean, he looks like his confidence is just completely going downhill fast. And that's a coaching problem, because great coaches, they can't give you confidence, but they can take it from you very easily. And so I think his confidence is being stripped down. I think it's going down the tubes real fast. And, we put Shador in there. I think Shador, can overcome adversity, but this adversity has been so bad for so long, historically bad, probably the worst in sports, that I don't think anybody can overcome this right now. And if I'm Shador, I wouldn't be rushing to get out there. I mean, I know the kid he wants to compete and stuff, and probably try to help his trade value just in case. But if I were him, I'm looking out there, like, man, I think he knows what he's walking into. I think him sitting's actually been a benefit for him. I know some people don't agree with that, and I agree that he probably should be out in the field by now. But I think in this situation in particular, him sitting has actually been a benefit for him because it's protected him from this crap, and his value is still what it is. However teams view him is how they view him. I'm sure there's a couple teams out there that have interest still if he did go on the market, and he hasn't played yet, so they'll say, well, he's stuck in Cleveland, so let's give him a shot. But if I'm him, I would just stay patient and wait and, just keep studying the playbook like he has been and, watching the film, taking notes, watching all the stuff going on in the film. He's probably sat back and observed all this stuff going on. And, just keep trusting on the leaders in that locker room, like guys like Miles and Njoku, which, the fact that I got to say this too about the trades real quick before we move on to get your take on the Tommy Rees statement fully. But
yeah,
I think we shouldn't get to a point where we have to trade a guy like David Njoku. That's pretty sad. That, like, a lot of things people forget about. I think a lot of people view it from such a calculated viewpoint nowadays because of fantasy football, and we look at their stats and their production. And you're right, they phased him out this year. They are not featuring him at all. And Njoku really should be a Pro Bowl talent every year by far. The guy is a freak of nature when you look at him in person. His skill set, you know what I mean? He, especially with a rookie quarterback, you think he'd be getting a lot more targets. And we're supposed to be going back to this whole 12 tight end set and all this. We haven't really seen a whole lot of that this year, but in terms of, utilizing like we had in the past. And so I just, the fact though that we would have to trade a guy like that is sad because David Njoku is a guy who's a culture piece.
Oh yeah.
If you've seen David, I just could tell by watching videos in the background or in the behind the scenes, excuse me. David is a guy who's an energy bunny. He's consistent every day. He's great. He's a hell of a teammate. He's always the first one standing behind the coach after every game, especially on wins. He's got a great relationship. You can tell everybody in that locker room. He's taking all the young guys under his wings. I mean, that's a guy who's bought into Cleveland, loves Cleveland, who put out a thing today. He was happy that he wasn't traded. I mean, think of that. This guy put out on his Instagram today, he's happy he wasn't traded, that he wants to be here the rest of his career. I think it's important to have those guys. In order to create a culture and a franchise, you have to have guys that are those foundation pieces, no matter what age, because they bring more value to the organization than maybe more than they do on the field. And that's and building.
He's a culture guy, 110%. David Njoku is the ultimate culture guy.
Right. I mean, if you look at, for instance, you look at Shador's old college right now, Colorado, they have no culture guys. That's why they are where they are. They have 38 mercenaries on the roster. They never recruited in state. They never had guys roll over from previous 2 years. They brought in all new guys, and look where they are. It's just an open revolving door. Where you look at other programs in the country, you have guys that were brought up in the system, and it means something to them. It means something look at the guys at Ohio State that we know. It means something to put on that scarlet and gray and to sing that fight song up there every game. You know what I mean? And to go out there and they take pride in what they do. We have to have those guys that build a culture and a program. So the fact that we even have to consider trading David is sad in itself. And I know we got Harold, but I heard all about this, 2 tight end set and all this. Well, you got 2 tight ends that are pretty good. Use them. One guy's on rookie contracts. So you're going to worry about paying him for a while. You could still keep David. I mean, but I would want to keep David. I want to keep Denzel. I want to keep Myles Garrett because those guys mean something. That wearing that orange helmet means something to them.
Yeah.
And we can't. I feel like the Browns, Mike, and I don't mean to go on this long rant, but
No.
I feel like the Browns, Mike, are treated like a mercenary business. They're treated like a college player. How many fucking 6th-round picks do you need? I mean, Mike, are we going to get the all first? Are we bringing in all the MAC players from the all MAC team this year? Because that's what you're getting in the late. I mean, how many 5th and 6th round picks do you need? I mean, that's all they do is acquire 5th and 6th round picks, and look at the roster they build out with that, and especially offensively, they always use all those picks offensively. And look at the offense; they're the worst in the league in the last 2 years. One of the worst offenses I've ever seen in my lifetime. Even in the down years of the Browns in my life growing up, the 0-17 offense was better than this. They at least put up 20-something, 30 points some weeks, and Deshaun Kaiser was able to at least throw for a couple hundred yards here or there. They were competitive in some games; they just could never close them. But how many 5th and 6th round picks do you need? I mean, they treat this like a mercenary business because they run it through a wrong system. Everything's through a value and a strategy and all this stuff. And this is what you get. And they've completely ran out all the people, all the stuff I point out about culture, how to build a team, real value, how to really identify real value in players, and how to, structure out a roster properly, and building up the core pieces and where you need them the most. And they don't know how to do that because they have people in there that have never done it before. How does Jimmy Haslam allow a guy to be a chief strategy officer who doesn't understand football and came from baseball? And he's the guy that chose Andrew Berry over George Payton, who's now the GM in Denver. Well, look at Denver right now. They look phenomenal. I mean, they're at least on the up and coming. They look a lot better than us. They got a quarterback. They got somebody who understands what they're doing, and they got a real president of football operations who's proven. They were attracting up the brand Sean Payton. I mean, Denver's a cold place. They got Sean Payton there. I'd take Sean Payton right now any day of the week to help. He's a phenomenal coach, And it's just, I don't get it. They're running it like it's a mercenary team, like it's just everything's just a business in Berea. They don't care about anybody's value, what they really mean to the organization. It's sad, it's sad. I feel bad for the players because they're really taking a dump on these players, and even the coaches, some of the assistant coaches that really, this means something to them. I'm sure Tommy Rees is probably busting his ass right now. I know a lot of people I know people that know Tommy Rees are familiar with him in the college rankings. Hell, even Debo be on the show. He's familiar with him. They all speak very highly of him. He's known as an all-star behind the scenes, but I think he might be a good seed in bad soil here. So, and I think a lot of these guys might be, honestly, and I don't like the way they're going about it. I don't think they have a clue or an idea. If Jimmy Haslam runs this whole thing back next year and allows these guys to make these picks coming up, I just don't think they're ever going to win. I really don't. And I've been saying that for 2 years now. Where my stance has been on it. I just, ever since they did all that stuff in 23, they'll never be the same until Jimmy cleans it out. He has to clean this out. You can't just fire one. You got to fire all of them. They're all together. They all came in together. It's all one big thing. And they need to bring in somebody in here that can really establish a culture and a foundation and get things back to being respectable again, like John Dorsey did. And yes, John Dorsey wasn't perfect. Yes, John Dorsey hired Freddie Kitchens, but I think John Dorsey still did enough up to that point to where he could have made up for that, But one thing John Dorsey understood was how to build a culture and a program. Because remember, go back to how that team was, Mike, coming out of that 18th season with Baker, his rookie year. There was a belief and a swagger, and people wanted to come to Cleveland. Guys were really calling their agents saying, "Give me to Cleveland. That team's hot and up and coming." And it's because they had a real guy leading the franchise. They had a culture building. They had momentum. It was awesome. It was the first time in my life where I already felt like, right, I felt as a Browns fan, we finally had something real. And it looked like how all the other good organizations do it. And because he allegedly, and I don't know if he fully made that hire, honestly, because Freddie Kitchens has his agents, Jimmy Sexton. Kevin Stefanski's agents, Jimmy Sexton, all CAA clients. Ken Dorsey was a CAA client, I think, under Jimmy Sexton. So was that really Dorsey that made that hire? I don't know, because they've always seemed to hire, and I know this was written in The Athletic last week, the influence of CAA over the Browns. So I'll just leave it at that. which is why I mentioned Steve Sarkisian yesterday as a possible coaching candidate, because guess who his agent is, folks? Jimmy Sexton. So, again, I think they need to get back to that, getting somebody in there that can establish a culture and do it the right way. And get Jimmy Haslam, you owe it to Denzel Ward. You owe it to David Njoku. You owe it to Myles Garrett. You owe it to these guys. Wyatt Teller, Joe Batonio. You owe it to these guys. Don't shit on your players, because if you keep doing this longer and longer and longer, you're not going to ever sign anybody here, no matter how much money. Because his way of doing it is walk in more guaranteed money. Well, that eventually people are not going to say, they're going to say it's not worth it. I'm not going to let my career die in Cleveland. And then eventually, you got to be able to build a culture and stability if you want to get anywhere. And sorry for the long rant.
No, you're absolutely fine. No, that's all very, very good input. All very, very good points. Yeah, the Cleveland Browns definitely need a culture. They need some direction.
Well, and even with the draft, real quick, not that forget about, yes, he hit on some draft picks, but in my opinion, I don't think one draft saved his job, Andrew Berry. I don't believe that, because I think even in this draft, he still didn't take a lineman when he needed one, and he took 2 running backs, which I didn't understand why, and he took 2 quarterbacks, which I don't understand why. I didn't sign in 2 veterans and then traded the other one in midseason and traded the other one before the season. Like, I don't feel like they have any direction in what they're doing. Like, you need linemen. You need clearly we don't have any tackles right now. You need offensive linemen. You need receivers. We didn't draft a single receiver. Like, I like Dylan Sampson's upside, but to this point, he looks like a wasted pick. And I'm not saying because of him, because the Browns really overdrafted somebody they really didn't need. Jerome Ford's not an elite back or anything, but I like Jerome in terms of, I think he can produce, but I don't think he's really been properly utilized here. I mean, his first year when he had Stump here, he had almost 1,000 yards. I think 800 something yards, looked pretty decent. And then they fired Stump, the guy who liked him, and told him, wanted him out of the draft. And then they cut his carries by 100 carries last year in the second year. Well, how is he supposed to develop? How is he supposed to be a solid number 2 or a roll-in back? That you can't. And he still averaged 5 yards a carry last year, and they still didn't feed him. So, and then now this year, he's just riding the man on the sideline. So, and yeah, why do you, like you said earlier, why do you at least try to trade him? I mean, everybody's running backs. Somebody would have took him. He had a lot of people liked him a lot in college and coming out of the draft, because I think he really is actually a decent football player. I think he's in a bad situation too. But again, they overdrafted there, and he took 2 quarterbacks. Why? I mean. And even if Shador does pan out to be the guy, you still have to get rid of Dylan, I think. Hey, Dylan, you're going to back up the guy that we took after you? Like, how is that good again, they don't understand chemistry. They don't understand how any of this stuff works. Yeah, people could say, oh, well, they're millionaires. They could suck it up and blah, blah, blah. They're human beings at the end of the day. Like, they're like, people forget that. Like, there's stuff that goes on in a locker room and behind the scenes. You just can't have certain things because it's just not healthy for the room and for the organization in the long run. So sorry for my side rant, but go ahead.
No, that's absolutely fair. No, yeah, hit the applause button.
Oh,
thank you. You deserve it.
You had to let a lot off my chest, Wait, I gotta catch up somebody's comments, Steve, if you don't mind, real quick before we get too behind.
Oh, you're good.
Even though it's your show. Let's see. They seem dumbfounded Sanders was getting to bring this much attention.
I don't think they understood it completely. Yeah, Kevin is gone. Could be.
Very dysfunctional ownership and lets management run the billion-dollar company.
Well, I mean, to be fair, as a Browns fan, Jimmy, we would always complain about Jimmy being overtly meddlesome. So the fact that he's let management run the billion-dollar company was at first a refresh. But Jimmy, to Jimmy's credit, he's let this run its course. But it's been 6 years.
Yeah.
Now we can say it's time for him to look at moving on. But here, Jimmy's come a long way for all of his faults. Like, do I think he's like a great owner? No, but like, he's improved.
Shout out to Tuna Sports, our brother.
What's up, Tim?
Tune's a great YouTuber. Cavs content. Saw my Cleveland people in the house. NBA fans, go subscribe to Tune In Sports. Mike and I go over there a couple whenever much as I can. I love going over on his show. If he's live tomorrow, I'll be over there if he's live tomorrow. Mike will pop in here and there when he can, and but he watches as well. So go subscribe to Tune In Sports. Great content, great guy, and it's like supporting a local business. So go subscribe to him, man. He does it all on his own and does a hell of a job. Did y'all expect the Browns to make any moves? I didn't expect them to make any significant moves, too. But go ahead, Mike. What's your take?
I was expecting something. All the reports said like they were going to try to get someone and be buyers, but apparently not. So, but I was misled.
I don't mind keeping David. I like him as a person or player. I love David Njoku. I love David Njoku. That's a guy I would be sad if he left. I think the locker would really take a hit too.
Oh, 110. What's up, Parent?
Yeah, what's up, Parent John? Good to see you, brother. I was sure a receiver was coming. I was hoping Garrett Wilson was coming. I'll be honest, or
Jalen Waddle, anybody with a heartbeat.
A Buckeye receiver is killing in the NFL right now. So give me one of them. Hit the like button. Absolutely, hit the like button right now. Let's get a like rally going. Shout out to you, Toon. Appreciate you, brother. I remember an O lineman saying that they needed stability at quarterback and to get to know Dylan. I think that was Joel, wasn't it?
I just wanted to get to know him. And here, Joel's a fucking just class A dude. Yeah. So like him, I mean, what else is he gonna say? He's like, that's my starting quarterback. I'm gonna get to know him. Joel's just a good guy.
Well, they got to go about it a certain way publicly, and Joel's been around a long time. He's been
and I also genuinely think Joel's a good dude.
But he's a hell of a. He has credentials. He could say whatever he wants. He's been a perennial Pro Bowler. He could be a Hall of Famer possibly. He's had a hell of a career. He's had to put up with this shit.
All Pro, 3-time All Pro? Yeah, he's a Hall of Fame guard.
Andrew is tone deaf. I am tone deaf. Then wake me up when they are good. I feel you, brother. Taking a dump on the fans that pay hard-earned money. And for them to come out, Christian, and I don't know if you guys thought to put out those PSL prices, Mike, on that new stadium in the wake of all this. I mean, so if you and I, or if you wanted to take you and Hannah or myself and somebody else, if we wanted to get 2 seats for a seat, because everybody's gonna get 2 seats, right? So at least 2, right? You and your wife or girlfriend or whatever, you know what I mean, or just whatever. You're going to get 2 seats. They want, I don't know if you guys saw the numbers, but there's a PSL price, which means you get the same seat for 30 years. You pay an upfront fee, and then you have the actual season fee, right, for the per seat. And so basically, for like a general seat in the middle of the stadium, let's say club level, I think it would be like $300,000, and that does not include parking, nothing. And that's for only 8 games, Mike. $300,000. For
crazy.
2 seats. That's you can get a house and a car for $300,000 if you do it properly. Unbelievable. Clean house. I'm with you. They're rebuilding anyways. Whether they, like you said, Mike, whether they realize it or not, the Jets realized it. I don't think they realized it though, Mike.
Not yet.
Brandon Dorsey again. He will change his team in a heartbeat. I mean, I know he still lives in Cleveland. I at least give him a holler. I've seen high school football ran better than this. Oh, I see it every week. Ran better than this. A lot of schools around here run it better. Should I say Brian Bill?
No.
I'm out on Bill.
No.
Just for that reason, Karen John, I'm out on him. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I'm out on him for a multitude of reasons, but no.
Yeah, that's one of them. I know Mike and I agree on that. I don't need her reading his emails in Cleveland and telling our media what to ask and all this and that. Nick Saban, I consider. I'll consider maybe. Nick Saban. Maybe in a president role or something. I like Nick Saban.
I might be Team Clint Kubiak. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Or Sarkisian's interesting. I like Brian Flores too, possibly. I think he could be interesting, but Clint Kubiak's killing it right now. Incompetent drafted. Yeah. No wide receiver, mind you, worst court in the NFL history.
Yeah, I think they really.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think they really like here. This best player available kind of shit that they did this past draft, I think worked, but it also didn't, right? Because they had um, glaring areas of need.
Right.
So I
Foundational
agree,
areas.
right? And I think they should have spent more time on that.
Yeah.
But I don't. Here, I'm mad about the past draft in a weird way because I think they should have addressed areas of need more. But in a weird way, I still think they got, either the first or second best player at their positions with the first, 4 picks.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean,
I mean,
with Son.
it's hard to be upset about it, but it's also like I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's like if they, it's like if you build a whole house, right? And it's a beautiful looking house, but you didn't do the foundation properly.
Right.
What's going to
Right.
happen
Right.
eventually? You know what I mean? Like
That's a good
that's what it
analogy.
was like. You know what I mean? Like you got a lot of nice stuff still, but the foundation isn't right. But there's a reason why that defense is so good and why that's been the best unit for the team since Schwartz took it. But look what they did to the defensive line since he got here. You know what I mean? Because before Schwartz got here, that front office going into that year when they traded for Deshaun said we don't need defensive tackles. Remember that? And it was,
Yeah.
they got ran all over that year. And then the Schwartz came in and said, "No, we're changing that." Like, I'm sure you had to properly build a defense, and he's done what he's done. But that defensive line now is one of the better ones in the league, I think. So, but you got to do that offensively too. Like when Kevin came here in 2020, before he got influenced by people in the building, because all he knew was what he knew in Minnesota, run the hell out of the ball. They even had a fullback in 2020, Mike. But guess what they had? One of the better offensive lines in the league that year. And they won 11 games, almost won the division and won a playoff game. Probably should have won 2. So,
Right.
It's like anytime they've done it the right ways when they seem to have not listened to certain people in the organization the least, and then when they listen to those people the most is when they become the most shitty. All the analytics and drafted no linemen or wide receivers. Yep. Do you think they will trade Denzel Ward, Mike?
No. No. I think he's a lifer. He's like one of 3.
Only if he pushes it.
Yeah, but Denzel is strangely quiet, and I think he's from here, grew up a Browns fan.
It means something to him.
Yeah, I don't
and they
think
owe it to him to build something good around him.
They really do, and I don't think Denzel's going anywhere.
That guy,
honestly,
he takes pride in wearing that helmet every week. But that's a
He's
guy that they would trade probably.
Right. I mean, he's like the one player that like I would like be like never. Like they never move off of him.
It should be never. Him, the Joku, Joel, and Miles are nevers.
Yeah.
To me. And maybe Wyatt could trend there, but Wyatt, I think he would understand the business. But those 4 guys that I named in particular, those are like 4 core pieces culturally that you drafted, they bought in fully, they love it here, they take pride in what they do. That's what you got to have. Brown should have got Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. I'll take Chris Olave.
Yeah, I like Rashid Shaheed. I do not want any more undersized wide receivers. I like him. He's a good piece, but we need a different style.
Just saying, 1105 said Jimmy should stay focused on Flying J. He will never be Jerry Jones. I don't want to be either.
I don't want him to be Jerry Jones either. Yes. I'm good on him not being Jerry Jones.
Craziness. Brian Flores for coach. I won't be mad at it. Cliff Kingsbury is OC. Brian Flores is head coach. Well, Cliff Kingsbury is the OC with the
Commanders.
I don't think he'd leave that to come here unless it's a head coaching job. But I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's a lateral move.
He's but he's a good OC. I don't think he's a good head coach, but he's a good OC. But I don't think he'd come here. Kingsbury is a good offensive mind. Denzel Ward's my favorite player on the Browns. I love Denzel. Shout out to D Ward from Dordonia, 330 boy, and a Buckeye.
Yep.
But Mike, I'll your final thoughts though on we didn't get your full take on. I covered this yesterday. What's your whole thing on this play calling thing?
Excited to see how it goes. Could be a couple things. Either they're forcing him to do this since Stefanski's not safe, or he's doing it because he thinks he is safe and just, wants to try something different, see if it'll help the Browns at all. Another thing could be I've heard other people say that this could have been like the plan all along, but since Tommy hadn't done it at the NFL level, he wanted like Tommy to kind of see how it's done a little bit beforehand. He had been up in the booth and not down with the players like previous offensive coordinators that were never going to call plays kind of thing. So I've heard some people argue that it was always the plan. But I like it. I like Tommy Rees. I'm excited to see what he's got. He comes from a good pedigree. See what if he can make the Browns offense look just a little bit more exciting. Obviously, his personnel isn't great, but maybe he'll make the best of it.
I like Tommy Rees. I've said that. Here's what I think, Mike. If Tommy Rees does a really good job and they look a lot better, that might save Kevin's job. Maybe not the people in the front office, but that might save Kevin's job because Kevin was here for those people in the front office too. People forget that he was hired first. So, that guy, I don't know. This is a weird thing because I said yesterday I feel like that was forced for him to hand up play calling, and I still believe that to an extent. But I think Kevin also doesn't mind it because I think Kevin right now, Mike, is just kind of in a situation where he's just kind of like the hell with it. Honestly,
Yeah, I can see that.
I think he's just kind of like, you know what? If it doesn't work out, then I'm probably out of here anyways. But if he goes out there and does really well, I could take credit for it publicly. Maybe they'll keep me. Maybe I'll do a better job as a head coach, being a CEO, which I've always said I think he'd be better at that suit in that area. I don't think he can manage both because not a lot of people can. And I think a lot of times when you watch the Browns, the lack of creativity, in-game adjustments, and just over all the things we can point out, I think a lot of that is because Kevin's trying to manage play calling and being a head coach. I don't think he can do both. So, because not many can. Only Sean McVay, Andy Reid, and very few. Not a lot. So, I think, to me, if Tommy does really well, which I think he can, but I don't want to say I don't want to put it all on Tommy either because I still think Tommy, no matter what happens, is still a good coach. You know what I mean? And so, like even the offensive line coach who I heard about coming, Mike Bloomgren, a lot of people spoke very highly of him. But I just think a lot of these guys, Mike, they're just kind of in a bad situation right now. I mean, the talent offensively is not great. It's either really old in the offensive line or it's just not great players. You know what I mean? They're not good players that fit what Tommy's going to. He comes from the college. He's still 2 years removed from college. So he's going to use a lot of that philosophy, especially with the two young quarterbacks that just got out of college. So, but does he have the personnel around them to execute that? Harold Fannin, Njoku, and Junkins and the backs can run it, but the receiving core, I don't know if it matches what he's going to want to try to do.
Right.
And it's already mid-season. I mean, they've been installing the same offense since back in April. So anything he tries to do differently, they're going to have to kind of, a good thing they did it on the bye because they probably had a whole week to kind of readjust a lot of things probably to where he likes it. I would assume he has autonomy on that, as he should if he's the play caller. So I best case scenario, he's the Freddie Kitchens 2.0 2018.
Yeah. Yeah, and he just looks great.
It's very hard to do. You know what I mean? It's going to be hard to do mid-season, but I here's what I do think. I think we're getting very, very close to Shedeur getting out there.
Oh, I agree.
Any week now it could happen.
I agree. And here it's going to be pushed by ownership too because they want to see him just as much as the rest of everybody.
And that's why I said yesterday I kind of thought this was ownership maybe pushing this because I don't see why Kevin would do this 2 years in a row. Why would he do that 2 years? Because it doesn't look good on him either way. Like you're like, dude, you're supposed to be this offensive guy and you give up play calling 2 years in a row. That's not a good look. You know what I mean? It screams dysfunction. It just screams kind of. It's not a good look. Why would he do it 2 years in a row? And that's why I keep saying, I think ownership did it. And I think ownership. If you look at who's worked with Shedeur the most behind the scenes, it's Tommy Rees. So that could be where it's pushing. I saw Jay Gruden and Keith Tlaib get into it on the arena today about Sanders. It got heated. I'll have to go check that out. I didn't see that. Kevin is tired of questions about Shedeur never mentioning his name. I'm sure he is. I mean, he does get asked about it every day. Pretty much seems like every day. But I mean, here that's what they asked for. They drafted him. They knew what comes along with. He's a high profile name. Of course, people are gonna, and then the way they've went about it. So, they should be surprised by it.
Right.
Denzel should be a lifer along with Miles. Those two are must. David too. I agree with that. But I totally agree. Well, Mike, continue to like, subscribe, and share.
Folks, thank you so much for joining us on another edition of The Professional Fan. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, and share. This content helps us out a lot. We've gained a lot of new subscribers over the past couple of weeks, so thank you all for joining. If you could continue to share the content, like the content, helps us out a ton, trying to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark before the end of the football season. And thanks to you guys, it's looking like we may just do that. So if you guys want to keep on chugging along with us, please, please, please like, subscribe, and share.
That's right. Well, I appreciate all you guys for supporting my brother Mike tonight on the show. Mike, thanks for having me up here tonight on your show. And
Of course.
as always, just stay professional and stay classy. And only professional takes over here.
Only professional takes. Thank you guys so much again. Stay professional.